Welcome to the Smart Nonsense Podcast, where we talk about smart nonsense.
The cartoon, dude. The cartoon.
That's what I wanted.
We can do it in post. We can fix it in post. Koi just
can.
fixed it in post. Thank you, Koi. What's funny about that is I never know if he actually does or doesn't. Don't even know if this podcast exists really in the real world, but that's all right. It's good to talk to walls every once in a while.
Welcome to my life, dude. Two dudes talking to a wall.
What's that sign behind you say? It's very small. Very small.
That one.
Over your right
right
shoulder?
There.
Yeah.
That one says
Into the mic now.
Smart Nonsense.
Okay.
It's got an arrow down. It says dirt.
Okay.
And then South Park, Wait But Why, Steve Jobs.
Oh! Why not? Why not every
dude?
single one of those?
Smash them all together. Yeah, dude. It's my daily inspiration.
The tiniest little peg lettered board on the wall.
Yeah.
Daily inspiration.
Yeah.
I'm proud of that. Proud of you.
You got people fucking
Climbing on the wall.
Yeah. So, I decorate. Also make cartoons, I think. Is that a transition? Maybe.
Yes, sir. A segue.
We forget how to podcast. Never really knew. But
wait, really quick. So we had a clipped company all hands meeting last night.
We did.
And what are we on now? Episode 6 million? 7 million?
Yeah.
They get a couple hundred views a pop. But I think because it was stated in the all hands last night that there's some fear around what we say on the podcast and what that means for the prosperity of the company. Half of those 300 views is clipped, which is kind of a problem. It's kind of a problem.
Well, I couldn't tell if it was our podcast or us going on a podcast because we were on a couple.
All of them.
Michael Girdley's and Greg Eisenberg's, 2 podcasts we appeared on. And in both of those, we're like, we don't know how to do business. Our business is floundering. Floundering?
Yeah,
That's a weird word. Flounder? Does it come from the fish? Flounder?
Koi! Yeah, their eyes are like super close. Yeah, we're like, sell it, hate this stupid business, hate everybody, which is not true. And but anyway, that's the Smart Nonsense Podcast.
It's the it's the reverse asymmetric upside. It's asymmetric downside of no upside, a lot of downside in that your whole company panics and people want to leave. But I don't even think they wanted to leave because they're just like, fuck it, they'll figure it out. They always figure it out. And luckily we're out. So Jack's in now. Jack is the yin to our Derd yang. Dude, sometimes I forget how English works, and yang just didn't feel right.
Oh, Andrew Yang, first and foremost. I was at an Italian ice place last night before the all hands meeting, and ordering my Italian ice, I did actually forget how to speak English because I panicked. Like she's like, "What's the matter with you?" I'm like, small blue raspberry, please. Small blue raspberry. And
you want to know what's happened is I've been I don't know if it's gaslighting because it might have truth to it, but I've been gaslit so many times that I have Asperger's that now every interaction, literally every time I talk to anybody that's new, in my head I'm like, nice job, didn't seem like you had Asperger's. In every single conversation.
That can't be good.
And then yesterday I came into this store to pick up some burgers because it was a 2-for-1 burger deal. And I went in.
Save it for the end of the
pod. I went to say hi, and like hi just didn't come out. And I'm like, fuck, dude, now I got Asperger. Like,
wait. What came out was
sometimes I'll say things, but they're only loud in my head. They're not loud out loud.
Oh,
so it was like but I think there was a lot of like commotion with me coming through the doorway, so it could have passed, and then I fucking crushed the conversation from there. But it was a bad start. But that's literally every.
You just got to start with your chest. You just got to start with your chest. You're starting with Asperger's in your head. You just got to start with a hey. And then I think cartoon. I think you'll be set up for success if you puff out your chest and really get in there.
Yeah. Well.
That's tough, dude. Can't relate. Every conversation, huh? Didn't
Also, my
have a lot
mom
of
doesn't want me
Asperger's in
to.
that one.
Uh, Never mind.
Air it out. Might as
Well,
well.
I went home for my birthday and stuff, and hanging out with my
And stuff.
mom, and and I get fucking inside joke podcast, dude. Um, and I get really depressed when I go home. At least with my
Right.
mom, I'm more chill with my dad, but my mom only sees me as like borderline suicidal, Dylan. So I'll like
Right.
tell her that I want to live on my own, and she gets like really nervous because she thinks I'm gonna kill myself. I'm like, no, mom, I'll be fine. I play sports every day. She's like, oh, okay, good, good. She's just worried like I'd just stew in there and I'd fucking jump out a window. So that's.
Moms can usually smell blood in the water, so.
And she said I had Asperger's, like honestly. But that's like my most extreme depressive Dylan.
Right.
So
Right.
therapy podcast. I want to talk about cartoons.
Let's make a
Um,
cartoon.
Cartoons are hard though, dude.
Shoot.
Um,
They are. What did we talk about last pod? God knows.
I don't know. I was trying to figure it out, and I titled it like "We Figured Out the Podcast." So I think we maybe talked about how we figured out the podcast. We figured out the cartoon, where I think we figured
the
out
premise.
like Dirds, fucking finger, thumb, and butt.
Superpower lives in
flies.
this monotonous city, which is a commentary on like us and our friends and the world we kind of live in and see. Okay.
So
Then we sat down to write it.
Well, yeah.
Actually, prior to that, I think you went on a discovery of like the best cartoons ever.
Maybe I don't know what I went on. Kind of we both went on, but like a lot of cartoons just have really shitty pilots. So like the bar is a lot lower than we think. But then the problem is like dude, South Park's pilot is like the worst thing I've ever seen. But then like
Right. Well, so one of the problems is, and this can happen in business too, where you're comparing like the business you want to start or the product you want to put out into the world with like Uber today. And it's like, no. You have to compare your V1 or your MVP with like Uber's first slide deck or Airbnb's first slide deck.
Yeah.
And so we were compelled to like compare the pilot we want to create or the show we want to create to like Family Guy or South Park or SpongeBob today. But that's 30 years of them compounding.
Yeah. The
So
problem though is I want to look at the best cartoons, or we want to look at the best cartoons. Best one ever, SpongeBob. They freaking crush it right out the gate. Like it was the pinnacle. The first 3 seasons were like the best of all time. Like now if you actually looked at it, you'd be like, wow, this is worse than the early episodes. But then I see that and I'm like, why is that so amazing? We look at like memes and it's like South Park, which is shitty in the past, gotten better over time, but like their memes are just like normal faces with little captions on it. Like it doesn't speak for itself. Versus you look at a
I've
SpongeBob
never
meme.
seen in my life, I've never seen a South Park meme.
Yeah.
Like they don't exist. Maybe a few, like the Human Centipede, maybe. But like they're not frames from the show that get passed around in pop culture.
It's got to be this like super physical humor sort of meme scene. So SpongeBob is just chock full of them, and goddamn, I want to do that. Plus, it's like SpongeBob's amazing because of that physical humor. Like it's storyboard driven, so they just have a rough premise for where they want to go, and then they give it to the storyboarders, and they add all the actions to act out what the scene should be, and then add in the dialogue after.
Yeah, they start with the art while kind of writing in their head, and then the storyboard artist is actually the director of the show, of the episode, which is kind of crazy.
Right.
Compare that to a South Park, which is like script driven, where it's just two people, even the Family Guy cutaways. It's just like two people standing in a scene talking jokes to each other.
Right.
It's funny, but like you can watch SpongeBob without the sound on and know exactly what's going on.
Right. Which is, they say powerful. That the mark of a good cartoon, a lot of things have to do with like silhouettes too, which is a similar idea.
Oh, he's Walt Disney.
Hey, someone got me a big book from Disney. basically like a silhouette. You want to have characters that are identifiable just in silhouette. Like you don't need their features, which is why like Mickey Mouse is amazing because you see his big ears. Same idea with like acting out things. You want just a silhouette of the actions and you can tell the emotion just from that. So there's got to be like a lot of body movement and stuff. Problem is like South Park's known for being super simple animation. So yeah, their characters are recognizable, but like their actions, like if you silhouetted their actions, it'd just be like nothing. It'd look the same if they're happy or sad. Versus SpongeBob, he'd be like freaking, I don't know, he'd just metamorph into whatever. I guess he'd just morph, but metamorph sounds even cooler.
Which is simultaneously super inspiring, super overwhelming.
Yeah.
Because we're trying to figure out like how to get that storyboard driven thing. We've just never done it before. And we can't draw ourselves. Like all the people that started SpongeBob, even Matt and Trey on South Park, like they were the artists.
Well, also
sitting there drawing frames.
Episode is 1 frame times 24 frames per second times 10 minutes. It's, I don't know how many frames. It's in the thousands of drawings, and they paint the backgrounds. This is at least in the first couple of seasons of SpongeBob, and still to this day they paint the backgrounds actually. But like, it takes 10 months to make an episode, and it's like we're kind of comparing it to like the best cartoon ever taking 10 months, and I'm like, let's see what we can do in a week and make it come close. So it's really intimidating. Plus, we have no idea. That moi should for sure be in the cartoon. But
yeah, that'll come up.
Oh, I had another thing.
Wait, I had a thing, Pop. I had an important one.
One thing that keeps bothering me. It's fucking fly in my room, first of all. But another thing is like SpongeBob is so amazing because he just built the coolest world imaginable. Like the SpongeBob universe living under the sea with all these unique characters, each and every one of them. And he puts a fucking squirrel in a dome under the sea that breathes air. It's like, he just has all these brilliant ideas. SpongeBob a fucking fry cook. And like the simplicity of just having like not many characters, just SpongeBob, Patrick, Squidward, 3 houses on a street. Squidward's trapped in the middle, and like Krusty Krab. Like it's just like it's the simplest, most perfect cartoon. And I'm like, yeah.
And what I'm trying to figure out is like, I'm trying to figure out what of that was like premeditated and what was them experimenting, testing, changing stuff over time, compounding.
It was day one they had sickness.
Well, it took them 6 months to get to pilot, first and foremost. But like even before SpongeBob, like what you showed me is like Steven Hillenburg had this comic called The Inner Tidal Zone, which is about all these creatures. None of them are in SpongeBob, but it's similar vibes. And then SpongeBob was this little round sponge thing called Bob the Sponge in that comic. And so I'm trying not to get too paralyzed in like how amazing season 1 was, because there was some lead up to season 1.
Yeah. Good point. Shorts for the lead up to the cartoon. I just know that, like,
right.
It's
and go watch
like
our old shorts.
Yeah.
Like we're kind of I feel like we're at the tail end of our like Steven Hillenburg Inner Tidal Zone. Kind of like what he was working on before SpongeBob. And now we're like working on this 2-3 minute intro pilot. And then from there it's going to be like, okay, what is the world? But it is that. It's that.
Well, my thing is like, it feels like this thing that can kind of change with time and like, let's just like perfect through iteration. But like, you don't really iterate on the premise of a show too much. It's like,
well, right. Like, episode 1 of SpongeBob wakes up as he does. He's like, I'm ready. Goes to the Krusty Krab. There's a help wanted. First, Patrick comes up out of his rock. He's like, hi, SpongeBob. stupid best friend. SpongeBob goes to the Krusty Krab. There's a help wanted sign. He walks in. Squidward's the grouch. He's like, Mr. Krabs, do not hire this guy. It's like, it's all there. It's all there. They get overcome by anchovies. They can't feed them. SpongeBob goes and does his thing and figure out how to cook a million Krabby Patties. And like, it's all there. SpongeBob Street, Patrick, Squidward, Mr. Krabs, SpongeBob the Fry Cook.
Well, that's where it's like
they weren't messing around.
Because even with Durd, for example, like kind of originally when we made the character Durd, like we had Louisa, one of our illustrators. She made like 20 different mock-ups of like some character that would have like a smart side and a dumb side. And it's like, okay, well, he has a big brain over here and like dumb side over here. Like, okay, sweet, let's just go with that. And then like that's just now our character and probably will be our character forever. And it was just off like, I like this one out of the 20 I saw. And it seemed like something we could easily take back, but then quickly you realize like you're never going to take it back because it gets too much inertia.
But I think we didn't take it back because we liked it and people liked it.
My mom hates it. But like, but it's like a love or hate thing. But like, I think the same idea with this story premise, it's like, oh yeah, we can decide it's like bureaucracy and it's like Durd's and his family and everyone works hard and then he goes back in time. But it's like, I don't know. It's like we got to do a full season of that show and then like cancel the show and like restart. But then Durd's like, is Durd going to be in the show or do we have to kill that character if the show fails? It's probably like overthinking it, but also like I want to get it right from the start. Right. And SpongeBob created this completely unique universe. And I'm like, God damn, like I texted you a couple times, but I'm like, hey, what if like all the characters in the show are just like chimps? Just like something to make it more fun and world building. Like one's an orangutan, one's a chimp, one's a gorilla, and it's just like fucking Monkey World versus like SpongeBob Under the Sea. Something that's like
Monkey Ball?
Unique.
Super
Is that
Monkey
the thing
Ball?
where you? Yeah, I think I did.
You do like mazes and such ball? As a monkey in a hamster wheel. Yeah, good game.
Yeah.
PlayStation 2.
Yeah. So fucking Monkey Ball, dude. So it's just got me kind of spinning. We want to talk a lot about history and stuff, so I think we got to have real people in it. Like we couldn't do like Chimp Hitler, although that would be fucking crazy. But then like who knows what's reality? So sometimes I spiral on that. And then like another thing that we're struggling with is like, what the hell does Durd sound like?
Oh,
and all the other characters.
And well, that's the other thing. It's like, all right, SpongeBob. They worked at pre-pilot for 6 months to get everything right, or so it seems, about the show. And then they went and casted the characters. And they find freaking like just the cast. It's just incredible. Well, you got Tom Kenny voicing SpongeBob.
But where did he hear SpongeBob's voice?
Dude. Oh, Steve Hillenburg?
Yeah.
He heard Tom Kenny do that voice in like the background of a show, of another Nickelodeon show, like years prior. Steven Hillenburg goes to Tom Kenny. He's like, yeah, when we were recording that whole group scene and you like shouted something as like a small kid character from the crowd, like I really like that. That should be SpongeBob. It's like, we haven't had that.
Well, we never tried. What is it called? A fucking Oddwalla?
What's
the drink?
Crowdwalla.
Crowdwalla. Crowdwalla is like they have just every voice actor in the show do like a couple different voices and they smash them all together to make a crowd. So just one of the 100 voices in a show years ago was just like, oh wait, I kind of remember that one.
Ready. Huh. But yeah, like so their voices, their acting makes the show.
Yeah.
I mean, like even Matt and Trey in South Park, like their voice acting and they're just not that good. They all sound like Trey. I think it's Trey. I don't actually know which one's which. But
Trey's the mastermind.
It's his voices, right? Mostly?
Probably most.
Is he the guy that writes that?
But like also like Seth MacFarlane.
He does good.
Well, he's like a singer too.
Yeah, a little Frank Sinatra. Yeah, you sent me who it was
he was at Logic's house.
It was Logic.
He did a track with Logic.
Logic and Seth MacFarlane. It's like a rap. And then at 2.5 minutes in, Seth MacFarlane comes in with this like rolling like Frank Sinatra verse. And it's like, what? or sorry,
It's
like
kind of sick.
pre-chorus or chorus. It was kind of sick. You know who
Super
also
talented.
sings like that is Alex Ernst for whatever reason. He has like some Frank Sinatra
Old
sounding
David
songs.
Dobrik vlogger. Um, That's a goofy
But we
superpower.
put the pilot together.
Yeah,
The intro to the pilot
right.
to kind
And so,
of stall. And I think like because we're not artists, we can just think about these things and we can have the vision and we can write to them. But like we can't I can't see anything. We're reliant on like our illustrators to bring our writing to life.
yeah, that's one of the things like
So like the
Hillenburg.
chimp world, I'm like I can't quickly like see a scene of that or like put
Right.
that into you draw a pop.
A
You got
little
your little
bit.
monkeys.
My notebooks are crazy, dude. Um, but yeah, he just had such a clear vision. Like they were talking about, I was listening to a podcast with his assistant from back in the day. Now she like produces because she just rose up through the ranks. But his assistant was like, dude, Hillenburg just had this vision for exactly what SpongeBob should be. And he'd like, yeah, like he'd hear Tom Kenny's voice in the background of this crowd walla, or there'd be just like someone on the street and he just like they just know immediately that's the person, or like they get notes from the network of like, hey, maybe you shouldn't have SpongeBob's laugh be like that. And he's like, no, that's how it is. Like he would just say no to all the notes with a reason why, because his vision was just so clear. And like, God damn, this guy's crazy. And we just feel like our vision is like 80% clear, but it's not
Yeah, well,
100%.
and I'm trying to I like trust I trust what all these people are saying in hindsight. I guess I'm trying to figure out like did he feel like us? Or was he really 100%, 110% certain? I
That's
have a hard time believing he had it all completely super figured out in his head.
Well, no, but that's the thing. I think with his universe, it's like one unlock unlocks everything. One domino just push them all over. Where it's like, hey, we're gonna do this under the sea. It's like, oh, fucking, all right, let's have a
That's for
crab creature.
sure.
Let's have the sponge is less clear, but like, just making all the characters. The squirrel stuff takes some creativity, but like,
It took him a lot of time though.
I think it. My problem is it just doesn't feel like we have that domino. Like, granted, we have Dird flying through the universe with his butt rainbow, which is like the domino, I guess. And then maybe we don't have to innovate on all the rest of society. Like it can just be like a boring to the extreme society, with no curiosity. But like, is that enough? I don't know. Maybe like we'll rationalize it and it'll be brilliant. It's like, yeah, just take the modern world, but have this dude that can fly.
That's what I wanted to say. I was thinking last night like I want to be careful not to do too much of that like AP English class or honors English in high school
Yeah.
where you just sit around and like talk about motifs and symbolism and all this bullshit in Shakespeare. And it's like, dude was just writing.
Mm.
Dude was just writing. Made a lot of writings. And like we're here now 1,000 years later? That's an
Was he
episode.
like the
Whenever
1500s? 500
15.
years ago?
Yeah, that checks out. We're here many, many years later, hundreds, maybe thousands,
We're not English guys.
trying to. And actually, Paul Graham wrote a great essay about this, about why it's like just so stupid to sit around in English class and talk about these old, boring writers like they actually tried to do all of the things we've kind of like invented in English class that they did.
Dude, how crazy it is. You saying 1,000 years. Sorry to ignore everything you said after with Paul Graham and stuff. But like you saying 1,000 years,
It
we're
wasn't a
as
thousand.
close to Shakespeare as Shakespeare would be to whatever 1,000 years ago. Uh, which is like 1,000 years doesn't feel that far off, but it's super far off because like we're as close to Shakespeare as your guess to Shakespeare. If that makes sense. Like
Yeah.
you're basically saying like Shakespeare was born today. That's how far off that guess was. It didn't feel
Yeah.
that far off. That's why people think I have Asperger's. Um, so yeah, I don't
The
know what's
logician.
rationalized. It'd be cool if he had like his own podcast, but he has like no interviews and he's also dead. So it's like,
He is,
what? We'll just never know. We'll have to
dude,
hear
what a
people.
loss that is. He got ALS, died within like 2 years, 3 years at 58.
And then the show, there's this problem. They call it Flanderization, which happened to the Simpsons Flanders character. He just like, once the creators of the show moved on, you just get like people that come in to fill the role and like, okay, who's Ned Flanders? And it's like, oh, this religious guy across the street. And they start taking that character to the extreme. Like now he's just heavily religious and he's less of a balanced character. So same thing with SpongeBob, like Hillenburg dies and then other people come in and now like SpongeBob is dumber. Like he's as dumb as Patrick once was. Yeah. A little kid that's an idiot. And then Patrick's like full blown, just gone, special needs basically. And Squidward's like always grouchy. There's just like no balance in the.
They lost their like dimensionality. We actually saw that happen with shorts in a different way, where like when we kind of, it's not that we took our eye off the ball with shorts. It's that we optimized for, we look at a short, we say, oh, that was beautiful. Do more of that. It got more beautiful. Oh, that was even more beautiful. Do more of that. It got more beautiful. You compound that over basically a year's time, and our shorts became all beautiful and way less like of that dimensionality, the humor, the smart nonsensical stuff we were doing. And we kind of caught that. And we were like, oh, we could see in our rearview mirror our golden era of shorts. It was like 6 months, a year ago. And we're like, oh, okay, now we need to walk that back. But imagine if we had just moved on. Then yeah, the writers, they just keep on that path of like more beautiful, do more beautiful. And if you optimize for the wrong thing, Flanderized, dude.
Well, the thing there is it's a lot easier to give feedback of like, wow, the lighting here is beautiful. Can everyone just get this lighting plugin? It's like, okay. Versus, wow, that was a really funny joke. You did this one circumstance. Can you guys all do that? And like, I don't fucking, there's no plugin for that.
Luck, right?
How do I get that? So it's a lot harder to teach this thing. So it just makes sense. It naturally goes to this side of the spectrum, and then you like lose all the funny side. So we'll figure it out, but it's a freaking hog. Like it's like learning this entirely new skill set.
Reading, actually, that's a great book. It's called The Illusion of Life. It's like the Bible of Walt Disney that some of the storyboard artists put together. Huge hardcover book. I feel like him at times, he was saying, or someone was saying in a passage that like Walt Disney could not draw, and it pissed him off that he was reliant on his animators to kind of bring his world to life. Because in a similar way, I'm like, okay, we can write something to the world today or think of something, but then we're reliant on teammates, and it's not a bad problem. It's honestly probably better because our life is not as, like you were saying last night, like I feel like we should just be like working so hard on this, and that's true. But one aspect of that is, like you were saying, Steven Hillenburg and Derek Dryman had to draw 24 frames per second for an 11-minute episode, and we just don't do that. We basically outsourced the drawing, the editing, the animation.
Yeah.
So we would feel like, well, that's probably why our team is all freaking burnt out. They're like, to them, like if you ask them, they're like, yeah, the work is nonstop.
Right.
That's because they're in the trenches, actually doing the technical thing.
Yeah.
Therapy pod? Oh. You gotta.
I know I gotta wrap soon, but let me just see.
Oh.
I just saw in my notes, and I put a little emoji next to it, so it triggered it. I wrote, "What's a brick?" Dude, I don't know. We don't gotta touch that.
Hope that helps you on your way and stuff. That's what Dirt currently sounds like, and it's not
bad.
Until yesterday, we could not write a full sentence for Dirt because we couldn't imagine what this guy ever sounded like. I was only, because it's the way I write in shorts. Dirt only ever does like a huh, what, where, like he's just one word confused guy, and we're like, what is more depth for this guy?
Right, he has zero depth,
and that was the first sentence we got, which was, "Hope that helps you on your way and stuff."
Well, before that,
two prokaryotes together.
We're trying to think what Dirt says. Like, we wanted to trigger this in this trailer that we're having. We want to trigger him going into the universe and like learning about things. Like, okay, well, what's he gonna learn about? Like, how do we trigger it in the first place? And so he's just on this date because everything's a date. And this girl says to him, I don't know. I think I said this.
Which was the original premise for SpongeBob. Okay, so he didn't clearly didn't have it completely figured out, because episode 1 was supposed to be SpongeBob and Mermaid Man SpongeBob and Sandy. Okay.
Yeah.
And the premise was SpongeBob is on a date, I think, with Sandy, which is not his love interest in the show. So that turned out to not happen. And it's about a date, and he's trying to impress her, and they go to Muscle Beach, and SpongeBob, like, he's not very strong. Yeah. So there's an example of, like, they thought that was going to be episode 1, and it totally wasn't. Sorry, continue.
Well, I don't know if this is. I was kind of just Tomas houred, which means like
the brick.
I got the giggly goo, but yeah, the brick. We're just like, what should she say? And she's like, "Dude, you're just dumb as a brick." And then I'm like, in my head, I'm like, oh yeah, so she would say that, and then Dird like launches into the story about like how bricks are made and like
what's his genesis of like he's called dumb, he has this insecurity. Oh, he's stuck.
Well,
and he goes off. It's the catalyst for him going and learning everything in the universe.
Right.
And your line is, "You're as dumb as a brick." Which, by the way, is the importance. Well, my point earlier about the importance of acting is it's all in your delivery. Well, so give us your best love interest says you're as dumb as a brick.
Well, I don't know the point of this story. It's just not going to be funny. But she's like,
it's not. Go ahead.
I'm really deep in this hole, and I guess I got to keep digging. Like,
yes, sir. I'll do dirt.
You're as dumb as a brick.
What's a brick?
Wait, hold on, don't guard the loop. Before we, fuck, dude, I'm sorry.
Well, wait.
I just thought it was really funny because what was your original line? You were like, a brick? I thought you were gonna be like, wait, how was a brick invented? I thought you were gonna say that, but you're like, what's a brick? And I'm like, he's that dumb, he doesn't even know what a brick is. And I couldn't. Sorry, dude, my bad. I lost it then, and I butchered it now.
First off, like, these are thumbnails, right? What's the difference between thumbnail and storyboard?
This is like the sketch version of a
super sketch storyboard. Right. Different camera angles. Okay, so we roll in, we come through Bureaucracy or Curiosity or whatever the heck it is to Dird's neighborhood. Everyone kind of lives in a cubicle. Then we have these match cut. Dird wakes up, looks terrible, brushes his teeth. This is all basically black and white. Gets in his gray car, goes to his gray cubicle. Someone's yapping in the background. Back in his car, gets to his date, super nervous for super hot date. Also, this is based on our welcome email to Smart Nonsense. Go subscribe to smartnonsense.com. And we're in the scene. She turns away. I really like... Turns away more. I just don't get... Look! I don't like you because you're stupid. We learned probably yesterday that, like, these close-ups are called gross-ups. It's when in SpongeBob you get this, like, hyper-detailed close-up, which originally doesn't, like, I firmly believe, like, nothing in this world is original. Everyone's pulling inspiration from stuff prior. And that thing in SpongeBob that we know and love, gross-ups, came from the show Ren and Stimpy, which was, like, I think Hillenburg was, like, an intern on that show. Other Nickelodeon show. I can't see what's at the bottom here. So she calls him stupid, which immediately turns into his DEFCON diarrhea. She's, like, embarrassed by him. Classic. Wait, what was this action, by the way? Zoom along with beat. I don't like you because you're...
That's just like a punch in, zoom in.
Yeah. She's looking around. She's like, are you really doing this again? Dird's foaming at the mouth. Excuse me. Absolutely drags himself to the bathroom, Wolf of Wall Street, cerebral palsy scene style. Gets to the door, blasts it open. That's interesting. Like, this is not I imagine this is all editable, but like I imagined a different action here, but that's all right.
What?
Think
And which one? Bust open the door.
bus open the door. I imagine more like, can you see my cursor?
Yeah.
From this view, not from inside.
Wait, what is this bathroom door view? Oh, that's the bottom of the door. Oh,
I guess it's from Dird's point of view.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Think, damn it. Think. Gets on the toilet, and then he has this epiphany of like, it's either DEFCON diarrhea or wait a minute, I got this thumb. No, I can't. DEFCON diarrhea, shaking, convulsing, breathing. But looks at his thumb. He's like, I really could shove this thumb up my butt to try and stop it. Snap out of it. DEFCON. Oh, whoa, there's the gross up I wanted. I, 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 he's spinning with this optionality of thumb versus diarrhea. Which is it going to be? We get these super close ups, gross ups. Open his mouth, slow mo, licks his lips, shoves that thumb in his mouth, pops the cherry, jams it up his butt, and blasts off for the first time ever. Breaks out of the restaurant, out of the city, through Earth's atmosphere, past the moon, to the sun, burns his head beyond the Milky Way, into a black hole, out of black hole, into our first time travel vignette. I think that's it. Pretty good.
Yeah, she had some thoughts. In other words,
What are your initial thoughts?
One is realizing how much easier the animator's job will be just from this. Assuming this is like a 1-day thing or something. Now, what's cool is like we can now go back and be like, hey, Louisa, can we change this bathroom scene? Because we imagine it differently and it might be funnier our way. Or like she does a way that's funnier. You just get like more creativity.
Well, even we like kind of just they're not numbered, but like frames in the top row 3, 4, and then 5, 6, 7. Like those are probably even better than I imagined. And so it just brings to life, like, now I feel like there's something we can look at and talk about.
Right.
As opposed to just like words on a page. And now the animator, kind of like what you're saying, like there's no messing this up. Like this is exactly what should happen for these 5 frames.
Right. I guess in my head, I'm like, where are the opportunities for SpongeBob?
Right. I was actually thinking that in the shower this morning. Like one thing I imagined would happen is we'd get these boards back and kind of like we used to write for the newsletter, like pause frame. Mm-hmm. Pause frame, like nothing happens. It's just blank stares. I thought something similar might happen in boarding where like maybe it's right here. We realize, oh, there's like a SpongeBob physicality moment, perhaps. So I might think like +1 in between these 2 frames. +1, right. +1. That's kind of what I was thinking. It's like, yeah, maybe this is the outline, but like, where's the down here, Dirt about to cry? Like that could probably be dialed up into a SpongeBob moment.
Right. Well, so
this
Dirt
is just
about to cry, for example. Yeah, and she did a bunch of them really quickly. And we've never done this before. But like Dirt about to cry in the Disney version, it's like silhouette his head. You have no idea he's about to cry. Versus if his head cocks back and he's like,
oh, the anticipation.
Anticipation.
A rule of Disney animation.
Yeah.
Anticipating like actions.
So every movement has like a little pre-movement. Like before you go and hit something, you kind of move back before you go forward. Same idea. Granted, this isn't like enough detail, but now we can see like this is helpful for seeing opportunities to then add more detail for that SpongeBob moment. So, like other than him, like crawling off screen, body frozen, like that's probably the first big SpongeBob I see, and like flying. I don't know. There's just like going back through. There's a lot.
Like there's a lot you could do right here, where he crawls off screen. It's like, does his head go first and then his legs come back? Like, does he kind of inchworm off.
Mm-hmm.
I had imagined his legs are basically paralyzed. Like he crosses his legs to hold the poop and they're basically paralyzed. Kind of like if you imagine like a dog whose back two legs don't work and he's like dragging himself forward like
Right.
that. But like that's the detail that can now be decided here. Inchworm could be kind of funny based on how
I
she kind of positioned him.
I actually like keeping it ambiguous in our script, or like if we do more of an outline, it's like keep it ambiguous. It's just he turns into Wolf of Wall Street, cerebral palsy,
That's
and
the
then
inspiration.
they do whatever. Like Luisa does whatever here, and then we were thinking dragging, and here he's pushing with his hind legs. It's like we actually like pushing with hind legs better than what we had. So like the more ambiguous we keep it, the more different options we
That's
can
the
get.
other thing we learned yesterday. This gets back to one of our main principles, which is like inspire over manage. And we were at a point yesterday where we're like, okay, how much do we like? All you and I can really do is write and like talk about
Mhm.
vision. So it's like, how much detail do we want to write in? And I think there are diminishing returns because there's a point at which you write so much detail that Louisa or the illustrator or the animator shuts off their brain and just tries to follow your words on page. But that might not be the most creative path. And so what we
Right.
found yesterday is actually once SpongeBob was in the swing of things, actually no, probably early on, because like I don't think Hillenberg was actually drawing. He would write the premise for a show in a one pager, like very Jack and Jill simple sentences. This happens, and then also I'm thinking this, and then SpongeBob does this, and then this that turns into this. And I think like Hillenberg would take that one page premise or whoever the writer was and give it to the storyboarder, Louisa in this case, on these boards. And it's just like, just rip with it.
Yeah.
And they're in an ideal world, their creativity is if they can just run with their creativity because they're kind of directing the episode, it should be better.
I almost think there's like
I like the inchworm better because I like his cheeks potentially.
Yeah, that's the main character in the show is
His
cheeks.
butt cheeks.
Um it's almost like I see there are two passes. One pass is just like let's just get the scenes down.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a second pass. It's like, let's get the SpongeBob down. And it's like, look at every scene. Do we like that? All right, what would this look like dialed up to 10 or 100? And then the final storyboard is going to be that dialing up.
Right.
This is cool. I liked, honestly, we never did it before because 60-second shorts, it's like too short to really get too many cooks in the kitchen when we're trying to do it in a matter of days.
In theory, it might not be. Like,
Yeah.
shorts are short. So if, say, an illustrator could sketch up thumbnails for a short in 20 minutes,
Right.
that could be worth. And our animators have expressed that. They're like, they're really good at animation, at like executing on the technical thing. I think they would love for the kind of burden of like idea generation to be taken off their plate.
Right.
But we kind of make them do the full suite.
Yeah, and we thought that was brilliant. We're like, yeah, we just make like in one-man armies, and they all do it themselves. And like, we don't want to do this all ourselves. Can you just tell us how?
Right.
And that's like, if you give this to an animator right now, especially when we do a SpongeBob pass, it's like almost impossible not to make it funny. Like the only thing you could mess up is timing. But if you do an animatic, which is basically getting a storyboard and adding our audio over it, where you get the timing all right in that, then all they literally have to do is be like, this frame Dirt's here, this frame Dirt's there. Let me move him to match that frame. And like the timing's already done. So a lot of pre-production stuff that we just never done.
There's definitely a SpongeBob here, and the no snap out of it, he slaps himself. These two eyeballs should just go in completely different directions. And they kind of are here. And like, I didn't think of that on paper. But now it's like, yeah, I mean, like, look at his lips. Let's 10x that.
So that's where I think the question mark still in my head is like, how much of the dialogue do we want to do before the storyboard versus after the storyboard? And still don't really know. Kind of have to play around with it. But a lot to chew on with these.
What's our first scene when he
splashes into the water.
Oh, right. Splashes into the water for the first primordial soup. Yeah. First life. All right. Good stuff.
Sweet.